Okay, I'm just recording now.
Okay, let's admit everybody. Hello, thank you so much for joining. We will get started in just a few minutes as we let other people enter from the waiting room. But in the meantime, please ensure that you are muted. And you can also engage in the chat feature by saying hello and letting us know where you're joining us from. It's good to see so many of you today. Thank you so much for joining. We will get started in just a minute, but go ahead and use the chat by letting us know where you're joining us from. Still letting people in. It's great to see so many of you joining us today. Thank you for being here. Everybody is on mute and we will get started in 1 minute once everybody from the waiting room is let in. So I'm looking at the chat and I'm starting to see you all starting to post. It's great to see you. Thanks for joining. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started. My friends that are helping me with this, if you can just keep letting people in, we have a steady roll of people joining us in the waiting room, which is great. So thank you so much for joining. As I've said before, and I'll say it just one last time, everybody please go on mute. But we love to see your videos, so thank you for sharing that with us. And in the chat, you can engage, ask questions, let us know where you're joining us from, and we'll definitely have some responses to your questions at the end of today. I did that again. Oops. I'm still learning how to control this from afar, guys. Okay. So my name is Jillian Schneeberger. I'm representing the Women's Business Enterprise National Council, commonly referred to as WBENC. Before I go into WBENC, I just have to thank General Mills for being awesome, supporting women-owned businesses and diversity, equity, inclusion overall, and bringing this great group of people together today. We are so excited for you all to hear from all the panelists and speakers. But first, I want to back up and explain a little bit about who WBENC is and why we are here today. Okay, so the agenda, the overview, I'm going to give a quick overview of WBENC, then you're going to hear from General Mills, and then you're going to hear from a North America Commodities Manager at General Mills. Where did that go? There we go. We're also going to learn about their You Grow Girl campaign. We're going to hear from WBENC about demystifying certification. Then we have a panel of 3 amazing WBEs, which is what we call our certified women-owned businesses. And then we'll go into some Q&A. So keep using the chat to put in your Q&A and we will answer your questions at the end. Avery, if you could take over control real fast, and I'm just going to say next slide. It's not worth it, but you can go back one. Sorry. Thank you. So WBENC is the largest certifier of women-owned businesses. We work to identify, certify, and develop all women-owned businesses and connect them to corporate and government supply chain, which then fuels economic growth. So you'll hear more about our certification process by our Director of Certification at the end, but I wanted to just kind of go high level. So Avery, next slide, please. And thank you. To give a better understanding of where we serve and why. So people are at the heart and goal of any business, truly, right? But diversity, equity, and inclusion ensures that consideration is made for all people across different generations, races, cultural backgrounds, the gender spectrum, languages, abilities, sexual orientation, and national origins, just to name a few. So a company like General Mills works to ensure that their supply chain is also representative of that diversity. And that is where WBENC sits in partnership. Supplier diversity is not a free pass into a contract. Instead, it is a program or a team that can help you navigate to the front of the line and be a champion for you as you develop that business relationship. And it also helps to provide value and grow your success as a supplier. Next slide. There are 5 main categories of where a business could be certified as diverse, and we welcomed all of you to join us today. So we're going to speak specifically to women because we're the Women's Business Enterprise National Council that certify women-owned businesses. But the nuance to be certified woman versus certified minority or LGBTQ, we're all stemmed from the same tree in terms of where our certification is based from. So I think you'll find value of learning about our certification and knowing that we're going to connect you to the affiliate that's right for you. But there are different organizations that kind of lead the charge to certify that the business is truly majority owned by that diverse category. So as I've mentioned, I think you get it, WBENC certifies women, but we recognize that many of you sit at an intersection of 2 or more of these categories and could be duly certified by various partners. So we all work together across these affiliates to ensure that supplier diversity moves forward as one mission across women, minority, disability, LGBTQ, and veteran. Next slide. So why does this matter? Women-owned businesses represent 42% of all the businesses in the US, which is almost half. However, there is a huge disparity as women-owned businesses only make up 4.3% of total US business revenues. I'm just gonna say that again. 42% of businesses in the US are owned by a woman or women. However, they only make up 4.3% of the revenue. This is a huge disparity and has a big effect on the US economy. We need to close this gap by ensuring women-owned businesses are resourced, developed, mentored, championed to be sustained growth and win big. And that is what the WBENC network is all about. So we work across all industries and partner with our national corporate and government members to drive this economic development. Next slide, please. Yep, thanks. And one of those leading national members is General Mills. Once again, so thankful that they are joining us here today and that they brought this program to you. I have the privilege to introduce my partner in crime, Camille Snyder, who leads the supplier diversity program and initiatives at General Mills. She's a true advocate for the diverse suppliers that do business with them in all parts of their supply chain. Welcome, Camille.
Thank you, Jillian. As she mentioned, my name is Camille Snyder, and I am General Mills Supplier Diversity Lead for North America. Could we get the next slide, please? Thank you. On behalf of General Mills, I am so excited to welcome you all today. General Mills has had a supplier diversity program for over 50 years that focuses on suppliers that are owned by women, minorities, LGBTQ, veteran, and disabled owned. We value the diverse perspectives that these companies bring to our supply chain. Next slide, please. General Mills has decided to focus on increasing diversity in the agriculture industry, specifically focusing on farmers, growers, dairy farmers, ranchers, etc., for a variety of reasons. General Mills wants our products to reflect our increasingly diverse consumer base, and that starts by going back to the origins of the ingredients we put into our products. We believe that diversity benefits everyone involved in the supply chain: General Mills, our current suppliers, farmers, and our consumers. Along with diversity being a core of our business, there's also a lot of personal passion within our company for diversity in agriculture. I personally grew up in a rural part of Minnesota. My grandparents owned a cattle farm where my dad grew up, and my dad's now an agronomist. So I've been on and around farms my entire life. And I very rarely saw a woman or a minority farmer, which is something that never really sat right with me. I know that many people within General Mills have had similar backgrounds, and they bring their passion for diversity in agriculture into their jobs wherever they can, no matter what function they are within General Mills: marketing, communications, supply chain, etc. Not only is more diversity in agriculture the right thing to do, it also makes incredible economic sense. Women farmers make up 36% of farmers in the US, which is just slightly below the total number of women-owned businesses globally, being 40% of all businesses. However, if men and women participated equally in the economy, the global GDP could rise by $28 trillion, which will benefit so many people. However, just increasing the amount of women-owned farmers isn't enough. Women-owned businesses only account for 4.3% of revenues, which is why we want to focus on developing, training, and growing diverse farmers with the help of our advocacy organization partners that provide training, mentoring, networking, and other development opportunities so they can truly get to the point of equality. To tell you more about General Mills, I would like to introduce our incredible Sourcing Director of North American Commodities, Beth Robertson Martin. Beth leads the Commodities and Risk Management Group at General Mills with a particular focus on developing deep industry relationships to create new alliances and break down barriers to scale regenerative agriculture. Her commitment to creating more sustainable food systems stems from her early years of growing up in a farming family in southeastern Missouri. Prior to joining General Mills, Beth led sustainable sourcing groups in the furniture and apparel industry and developed risk management strategies in the financial industry. Take it away, Beth.
Thank you, Camille. I am thrilled to represent General Mills Sourcing today and explain why we believe in the power of women and a diverse agriculture supply chain. I did some Beyonce. I rocked out to some Beyonce at lunch today to get ready for today. So I think I've done what I need to do. My job at General Mills is the Director of Commodity Sourcing and Risk Management. And like you, I know what it's like to be a woman trying to excel and contribute within a system built by and for white men. Our industry, and all of the industries I've been in, have been dominated by white men for all of history, and quite frankly still is in many ways. I'm consistently one of very few women in any Zoom meeting I'm in these days. I'm not as intimidated by that as I once was, because at my age, you kind of stop caring, but I'm not completely impervious to the dynamic. Connecting with other women helps me feel more comfortable in this industry and not be afraid to take up space. I've joined several affinity groups as well as several mentoring circles at General Mills. I've had women mentors and I mentor a few women myself. I've also watched that Amy Cuddy TED Talk, like probably most of you have. Quick aside, when I was first working in dairy sourcing at General Mills, we had a finance director who was universally intimidating, and I definitely invoked the spirit of Wonder Woman through her power pose when I would talk to him. I don't know if it helped, but it made him a little wary of me, I think. I've been lucky though. I'm not the first woman in my position at General Mills, and I certainly won't be the last. General Mills has a rich history of supporting women, and there is a legacy of brilliant women who paved the way in our commodity sourcing team. I believe that's because General Mills is filled with smart people, and smart people know that diverse working teams are better. Take, for example, a 2010 study produced by Congress on women in business. This study illustrated that when women are in the mix, business performance is better. A couple stats I'll read for you. Companies with the most women on their boards outperform those with the fewest women on their boards in return on capital, return on investment, and return on sales. Return on sales is 42% higher when you have more women on your board. The link between women's representation on corporate boards and firms, it holds across the industries. Fortune 500 firms with the best record of promoting women to senior positions are more profitable than their peers. And I know you all know this, but the profit is what you take to the bank. If we all know this though, why does it still feel like a Sisyphean task to keep women in our industry? I'm reading a book right now called Cassandra Speaks. When women are the storytellers, the human story changes. And the author highlights that our struggle goes all the way back to the beginning of time. Literature is full of heroic men celebrated for the hero's journey, from Noah to Job, Ahab, even Sherlock Holmes. These are extremely flawed and yet revered men. Their stories map the arc of exile from their family. They're tested, they lose faith and regain it. These men learn about goodness and evil through the fire of their own experiences, but Eve and her sisters who followed have been demonized for answering the same call. If men are allowed to fall in their humanness and rise in their wisdom, shouldn't we be allowed the same narrative? I use the word narrative here intentionally because I argue that we definitely have those same experiences, but we need to be the authors of our own stories. We can find the strength to own our narrative through our connections with each other and our shared experiences. A great feminist professor of classical history once said, "If women are not perceived to be fully within the structures of power, surely it is power that we need to redefine rather than women." At General Mills, we pride ourselves on doing the right thing every time, even when no one is watching. And for me, supporting women in all of their endeavors is critical to that part of the value statement. When we lift women up, when we lift each other up, we do better. And that's why we as a company and this community here must support and lift each other up. I like to succeed. I know you do too. And together, I think we always will. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me. And I look forward to the rest of this inspirational webinar.
Thank you so much, Beth. I have goosebumps. I was trying to write down as many quotes and look at the chat. We referenced the TED Talk you were talking about. If somebody can grab Beth, if you want to put the book name in the chat, I think all of us would love to look at that. But I also just appreciate you telling the story and for being with us today. So thank you so much. And Molly is next up. Molly Wolf is the manager in the corporate communications group at General Mills. She oversees reputation and brand PR media relations. Prior to that role, she led the communication strategy and execution for the company's sustainability and impact work. She began her career at General Mills in 2013. So I'm not sure if we have the other deck up. But Molly, thank you so much for being here today.
Good afternoon. Wow, it is so amazing to see so many amazing women participate in this webinar. I was honored to be invited to talk about a female-centric project that I am very passionate about. A little over 3 years ago, in the summer of 2017, we were starting to think about ways to bring the consumer closer to farmers in our supply chain and the farmers closer to our consumers. We thought there might be real value in building stronger empathy and understanding about the choices that each of these groups make as it relates to food. Some of the sustainability and I team spent the summer visiting farms, listening to stories and challenges, and gaining a better understanding of the choices farmers make every day so all of us can have high quality food to eat. We learned that so many women are playing roles on the farm, roles that are critical to making their farms thrive. And while they may be the silent partner, we know otherwise. They are responsible for bookkeeping, ordering seeds and supplies, providing meals, and even running the operation. They are truly the heartbeat of the farm. According to the last USDA census, women make up 36% of the total number of US farm operators, and 56% of the total farms in the US have at least one female decision maker. Why do we rarely hear of female farmers? So after spending a summer visiting farms, it became evident to me that we had incredibly compelling stories to tell, particularly those from the less amplified voices of female farmers. So we landed on creating a first-of-its-kind blog series in the food industry. We call it You Grow Girl, and it lives on our A Taste of General Mills blog site. We set out with a plan to enlist female farmers, ideally in our supply chain, to share their stories and inspiration. We aimed to capture candid stories about their roles on the farm. What does daily life look like? How do they balance family and work and farming? What are some of their favorite farm memories? Even peek into the planning and decision-making for the future of their family farms. And then naturally, the challenge of being female in a male-dominated industry. Next slide, please. So over the course of the first year, every month we featured a story about a dynamic female farmer to engage, educate, and inspire our consumers. These stories took a variety of forms. Some contributors preferred a Q&A format, others wanted to write a narrative, much like a journal entry, and others gravitated to an interview for our podcast. With each piece, it was important to include our inspiration for the series so that readers could be grounded in the why and understand our motivation behind elevating these voices, and then hopefully prompt them to follow along and subscribe to future posts. On the right, you'll see some of the first stories we told to kick off the series. Oops, can you advance? Yep, and then one more. Now, while we initially set out to find farmers in our supply chain, we quickly learned that we have many employees who grew up on farms and even some that are still involved on their family farm. We thought that this was a unique angle we could amplify, sharing the perspectives of women who grew up on farms, women who were so connected to where and how their food is grown that they sought out careers like food science, product marketing, research and development, and even legal at a global food company like General Mills. We now fill our story pipeline by alternating each month between a farmer in our supply chain and an employee farmer. And we've been really energized by the number of employees reaching out to us who want to be featured. We even receive referrals from employees who know their colleague has a farming background. You'll see here some of the amazing women that we've highlighted in the and the perspectives that they have shared over the first couple years. From oat breeding to FFA experiences to relocating a family farm from one continent to the other, the diversity of topics has been incredible. But from the onset, it was important for us to have a global lens too and capture stories outside of the US that are representative of our scale and reach. So you'll see here a story of a Bolivian oregano farmer, an African bee farmer, a Canadian oat farmer, and even our own Cascadian Farm home farm manager, Ashley. Next slide, please. So while the intent has stayed the same, this series has evolved. Over the course of the last 3 years, overall engagement on our Taste of General Mills blog has declined a bit as consumers gravitate to other social platforms. And that prompted us to think differently about formats that might work better and reach more consumers. We've since pivoted away from the lengthier narratives and Q&As and shifted to a vignette format, which essentially is about a 30 to 40-second audio clip from the farmer herself, accompanied by some of her favorite photos. This is a quick way to share stories with consumers on the go. It's truly in the voice of the farmer and is mobile-friendly, shareable, and we found them to be super upbeat. So let's take a look at our latest post featuring Taylor Schmitz. She's a young Minnesota dairy farmer. Can we play the video, please?
My husband and I are dairy farmers here in central Minnesota. We currently are renting barn facilities as well as 200 acres of pasture that we graze our dairy animals on. What drew me to become a full-time farmer was working with my husband, being one with the animals, and being in nature every day. Many days can be long and tiring, but we have seen such great reward with our regenerative grazing practices. My dream for our farm is to show our daughter that you can do anything that you set your mind to. My husband had this crazy dream to start a dairy farm, and here we still are making the dream an everyday reality.
We now post these vignettes on General Mills LinkedIn and Instagram channels, and we've seen the engagement numbers go from an average of just over 1,000 views per blog to more than 9,000 views in this video format. That's a 900% increase in engagement. So as you can imagine, we're encouraged by this trend. We love the engagement we're seeing, the likes, the shares, and even comments all validate that these stories are meaningful, enlightening, and worth sharing. Next slide, please. So I invite you to go check out our stories, share them if you feel inspired to, and lastly, we are always looking for voices to elevate. If you're interested or have a recommendation for a rock star farmer we should feature, please reach out to me. I'd love to connect. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Molly. That's incredible. So I hope you get some emails from this because I see a lot of great people on the webinar that I would love to hear their story. Great overview of Grow Girl. I am such a fan of this campaign, and I really appreciate you leading this effort to drive and support the network. So now, to get into the nitty-gritty, Lakeisha White, the Director of Certification at WBENC, will walk us through the details of certification.
All right, hello everyone. I hope you are having a great day. It is almost a weekend. And so the goal of today's presentation is to help you better understand the certification process as well as what is WBENC. Considering this is my 17th year in certification, I hope you will leave with all your heart desires to know about certification, or at least close to it. So clearly, if there are any questions, you can post them in the chat. I'll be responding to them. And if something comes up, in the middle of the night, you will have my email and my phone number. So please feel free to contact me with any questions you may have. I think I have access. So we're gonna move. No, we're gonna do this. Nope. What happened? Let's see. Did this work? Did I do it or did you do it? I hope I did. We'll figure it out. No, I'm not doing that. What's happening? Okay. Are we good? All right. So we will discuss the different certifications available to companies, a little background about WBENC and our structure, the certifications that are available at WBENC, what the criteria is and the process for obtaining those certifications, and then once you're certified, how do you make it work to your benefit? Thank you, because I don't think I did that. Okay, there are various certifications a company can obtain based upon its structure. Clearly, we love to use acronyms, and you're going to learn all about them. So the WBE, which stands for Women's Business Enterprise, there's also the WOSB, the Women-Owned Small Business, and then the EDWOSB, Economically Disadvantaged Women-Owned Small Business. They are all gender-specific certifications. So the certifying entity, us, WBENC, we are attesting that a woman or women own at least 51% of the company they control, and they also manage the company. The MBE certification, which is the Minority Business Enterprise, is very similar, other than it is race specific. The same criteria applies. However, instead of looking at the gender or the sex, the same must hold true for owners of races deemed minorities. For example, Asian American, African American, Hispanic American, and Native American. Then there's also the DBE, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. Usually it is utilized at city, state, and government supply chains. These companies, are you communicating? I hear you. Okay. These companies must be considered small by SBA standards and are owned and managed by one or more individuals classified as socially and economically disadvantaged.
Sorry, everybody could just put themselves on mute, please.
Yes, please.
Everyone but Lakeisha. Lakeisha, don't go on mute. I'm
not. Yeah, I'll try that. Okay, I don't know. I still hear it. Okay, that sounds better. Okay. So DBE, these companies must be considered small by SBA standards and are owned and managed by one or more individuals classified as socially and economically disadvantaged, which includes reviewing an individual's personal finances. Are we still hearing that? Okay, we're going to keep on. The 8A Business Development Program is ran by the SBA to help small disadvantaged businesses succeed in the marketplace. The majority owner, 51% or more, must control and manage the company while also being considered socially disadvantaged, meaning they're classified as one of the following: Black American, Hispanic American, Native American, Asian Pacific American, Subcontinent Asian, or Subcontinent Asian American. In addition, the owner must also be economically disadvantaged, meaning their net worth must be less than $750,000, and there are some other financial limitations. Next slide, please. I think that's it. So WBENC is dedicated to advancing the success of corporate members, our WBEs, and government entities in partnership with its RPOs, which are our regional partner organizations. We are happy to report that we have over 16,000 certified WBEs. Our WBEs range from small to multi-million to even billion-dollar companies. Next slide, please. Our stringent process provides integrity for our corporate members reporting their diversity spend with certified WBEs and WSBs. This is one of the reasons our certification is trusted throughout the private sector and esteemed as world-class in the industry. Next slide, please. And now a little bit about how WBENC is structured. So WBENC was founded in 1997, and we're the leading third-party certifier in the nation of women-owned and operated businesses. We serve as an umbrella for our 14 RPOs who administer the certification process on our behalf. These 14 RPOs, they do the certification process, and they also provide support throughout the United States. They host events in their regions to provide our WBEs with additional educational and networking opportunities. And then also WBENC has over 340. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, so Lakeisha, we think it actually might be, it looks like everybody's on mute. So why don't you go ahead and mute yourself to the slide, and then see if it gets better. Okay, so WBENC structure and regional partner organizations, the national office is in DC. 14 RPOs across, sorry, trying to fix it. Are you on?
I don't know what's going on.
Okay, you're not on. Okay.
I can't even hear. Does that help?
Yep. Why don't you try? Sorry for everybody. Hang on for 1 second.
Yes.
I think we should be okay now, Lakeisha, if you want to try again.
Okay, awesome. Yes, that sounds much better. Okay, so WBENC has over 340 corporate members and many other regional members that actively look for diverse vendors. You can go to the next slide, please. So in obtaining the WBE certification through WBENC, we as a third party are validating that the applicant is an independent business concern that is at least 51% owned and controlled by one or more women who are U.S. citizens or permanent legal residents, and whose management and daily operations is controlled by the women owners or another such woman. Yes, another woman. Also, the legal entity must be formed in and have its principal place of business in the U.S. or one of our territories. Next slide. So women must own at least 51% of the company. Unfortunately, we do not round up. So when we do the math, it has to come out to a minimum of 51%. The owner, the female owners per se, must share in all the risks and profits commensurate with her ownership interest. And the 51% can be held directly by the woman, or it could also be in a trust that meets WBENC standards. Also, there must be some contribution of capital and or expertise. And WBENC deems the female owner as having control if they possess the power to direct or cause the direction of management in their company, make day-to-day and major decisions on the management policies and operations of the company. And so we look at control in 3 different ways. First, through governance. This is how the company is legally set up. Operation and management, that's how the company is actually being operated and managed. And then independence, is there a significant reliance on a male or a male-owned entity? When looking at control, there should be no restrictions on the women's ability to run the company. And one of our key criteria is that a woman must hold the highest defined position within the company per her legal documents. So that may be the CEO, president, managing member, partner, whatever is stipulated in the company's legal documents. Next slide, please. And so WBENC also offers the WOSB criteria certification. It's pretty much a lot of the same criteria. However, there are a few differences. For one, for WOSB, the majority owners must be U.S. citizens. And then in addition to meeting all of the requirements for ownership, management, and control, the company must be considered small by SBA standards. So each NAICS code has a revenue or employee threshold that cannot be exceeded in order to be considered small. So the way that you would find out if you're considered small, you'd find your primary NAICS code on the NAICS size standard chart. And so if it is a revenue code, your average revenues over the past 3 or 5 years cannot exceed the revenue that is listed. If it's an employee number, the average number of your employees over the past 12 months cannot exceed what is listed. Next slide, please. So just a little bit about the certification process. In order to begin the process, we recommend you gather all of the necessary documents first, as it may take a little time. We're going to go over a few of the documents shortly. And once you have collected all the documents, you will need to complete the online application, which will serve as a resume for your company. Also pay the non-refundable processing fee, which is based on the company's revenues. The process is completely digital. All documents must be available in soft copy for uploading. Once you submit the application, it will be routed to the regional partner in your area. The certification team will receive the application, log it in, and they're going to perform what we call our front desk audit. And so in doing that, they are looking to ensure all of the required documentation has been submitted. And if not, especially if it is a document that is listed as mandatory, that a statement is submitted explaining its omission. So you'll receive an email if anything is missing or if they have some questions. And once you return them and we deem that all documents have been received, then the file is deemed complete and the applicant is going to be notified via email that the file is complete and ready for committee review. At this point, our timeline starts and the applicant should be notified within 90 days of the final determination. So staff is going to conduct a preliminary review, then it will go to the certification committee where all the documents will be reviewed to ensure that the criteria is met, and they're going to make a recommendation to certify or deny the company just strictly based on the paperwork. Next, a site visit is assigned to a committee member and is conducted at the principal place of business with a 51% female ownership represented. Definitely right now, due to COVID, all of our site visits are being conducted virtually. Once the site visit is completed, the final determination is rendered and the applicant is notified. So if the WBE certification is granted and the company has also applied for the WOSB certification, staff will complete a few additional steps to determine if the WOSB criteria is met. And typically that final determination is made within 30 days. All right, so now we're gonna pan over to the document list just to go through a few of the documents we get most of the questions about, so it won't be so foreign to you. All right, as I mentioned, mandatory documents. So once you're in the application, the document list is going to be broken down into mandatory and required documents. For mandatory documents, WBENC has deemed that most companies have it, so we expect something to be uploaded. However, it may not apply to your company. Therefore, all you would have to do is, write up a statement, type it up, and then you can upload that as to why it's missing. For those items under the required section, if they apply to your company, we expect them to be uploaded. However, you'll have an easy way to just mark as not applicable, and it makes the process go a lot faster. So if you could scroll down a little bit. All right, so the sworn affidavit and user agreements, they're signed by the female owners. Clearly, if you are applying now as we're in the pandemic, for the sworn affidavit, which is supposed to be notarized by a notary, if you're not able to get that notarization, we are accepting just a signed and dated copy. Could you scroll down a little bit more? And these items are available to download on our website, as well as once you're in the application, you will be able to download that document. Get a lot of questions about like the history of the business. People are like, what is that? And it's really just a biography of your business. You may already have it created. It could be on that About Us on your website. But if not, it's truly just the who, what, when, why, and where of the company. Why was the company started? Who the company is, and and what you do. So the key pieces. Scroll down. Clearly, we're gender specific, so there's going to be a requirement for evidence of gender. What we're looking for is that for sex, it states that it is a female, and as well as citizenship. Scroll down. Financial documents, we ask for a profit and loss and a balance sheet to correspond to the most current tax return that is submitted, but we do ask for 3 years of federal tax returns. If this is filed on your personal return as a Schedule C, then you must submit the first 2 pages, which is the actual Form 1040, along with the Schedule C. The Schedule C alone is not a tax return. Scroll down. One other thing, and you can keep on going, but debt instruments, if you have on your balance sheet that there's a note payable to, Bank of America or John Smith, we will be looking for that documentation. I will tell you that's the one document that people send in a letter and to say that, oh, it's not applicable, but it's clearly listed. So we would expect those documents to be uploaded. I will say one of the items under the mandatory, is the personnel documents, but however, not everyone has employees. So this would be, your opportunity to upload a statement. Okay, I don't have any employees. I don't have payroll. Maybe you're not even paying yourself. And you would just need to state that and, will be sufficient. And if you could scroll down to the legal documents. So based upon your business structure, we certify all business structures, sole proprietors, partnerships, corporations, and LLCs. We have the documents that are required. And I will say, especially like for corporations, to validate ownership, we need the stock certificates that shows what you own in the company. And bylaws, because if there is a male and female owner, this is going to stipulate how the company is managed. If you recall me stating, we're looking at documents to ensure that you meet the criteria as well as in operation, and those two should mirror one another. So if you're an LLC, an operating agreement will stipulate who the owners are and how decisions are made within the company. And, those are really big in the certification process. But if you have any questions, please feel free to email us, or give us a call, and, we can provide clarification if needed. All right, if we could go back to the PowerPoint. And that entire list, it's available on our website. And so certification is only valid for 1 year. Each company must recertify each year. WBEs, we start notifying them 120 days prior to their expiration that it's time to recertify. And it's, very important to do so, to always keep your certification current so that you don't miss out on any opportunities that may come up. And the restart process is nowhere near as intensive as applying as a new applicant. We are simply asking for updated information for your file and verifying that the company still meets the criteria, because there are sometimes changes that could affect eligibility. And then we require a site visit to be conducted every 3 years. However, it can be conducted at the discretion of our certification committee. Next slide. Now, sadly, not all companies who go through the process are granted certification. All denied applicants must wait 6 months from the date of their denial before they can reapply. But in the event that a company is denied and feels that they should be certified, we do have an appeals process in place. However, no material changes can be made to the company and submitted. So we are really just going in and looking at the documents that were submitted to determine if the correct recommendation was made. So if they decide to appeal, the decision has to be in writing to the RPO. Their appeals committee is going to convene. They're going to review the file and determine if the correct recommendation was made. If the denial is upheld and the applicant still feels they should be certified, they can then appeal nationally. Our national certification, our national appeals committee will review the file and determine if the correct recommendation was made. If it is upheld, then they'll be notified. And that's their last course that can be done, and likely a lot of time has lapsed during that time, and they are still able to reapply as a new applicant as long as it's 6 months from their original denial date. So there is no penalty for appealing the decision. Next slide, please. And so just to go over some of the frequently asked questions, why do we ask for so much information? And we do so because it upholds the integrity of our process in determining if all criteria is met. We feel all of the pertinent documents must be submitted for evaluation. For the fee, I told you there's a non-refundable processing fee. Our fee ranges from $350 to $1,250, and it is depending on the company's revenue. Once the application is submitted, your RPO will be identified along with the fee for the certification, and that is paid directly to the RPO as they are the ones processing it. Is my information safe? Clearly, confidentiality is our utmost concern. All files are maintained in an encrypted algorithm environment. Only trained staff will have the ability to review your documents, as well as WBENC certification staff, all of which have signed a confidentiality agreement, and no one ever within your industry would be allowed to review your file. Is my certification national? Yes, the WBENC WBE certification is national in scope. So please be mindful if you're trying to do business with various states. Many have their own certification that you must obtain to become one of their vendors. But our certification is recognized in corporate America. And once you're certified, how are you supposed to use WBENC Link? WBENC Link should be used to identify target customers or WBEs that you may want to partner with. One thing you cannot do is use the contacts in WBENC Link to send out marketing blasts, because if it is discovered, and believe me, people do tattle, your searching ability could be restricted. Next slide, please. So how can you make certification work for you? First, please do your homework. Identify your hit list, those companies that you're interested in doing business with. Can't do business with everyone. There's still more work to do, as those companies likely require that you register in their internal vendor databases. Try to identify the problems that they may be experiencing and provide your solution to start the dialogue. Most importantly, though, please be patient, because things do not happen overnight. On average, it takes about 3 to 5 years for a contract to be secured. It's all about what you put into the process and the network. But I will say that by virtue of being on this call, you are already ahead of the game, because there are not many WBEs in this industry. So obtaining certification can definitely open some new doors. And as a certified WBE, be proud of it and use the WBE logo on all of your communications, to spread the word. This network is definitely about building relationships. So do not ever shy away from connecting with anyone, because you never know who that person knows and what opportunity it could lead to. Next slide. So here are a few words of wisdom, but also remember, certification will benefit your company if you want access to more business opportunities within the private sector and with other WBEs. Also, if you want to get that stamp of approval that your company is a legitimate woman-owned, operated, and controlled business, certification is right for you. If you love to network and build relationships, because certification is a marketing tool, it's not a guarantee for business. Also, some business owners think that by getting certified, all these companies are going to be beating their door down to do business with them. And that is an unrealistic expectation. But know that it can happen. What you put into it is what you get out of it. And so before you start the process, although I've gone over, a few things, there's definitely more information available to familiarize yourself with like our criteria. Our standards and procedures is posted on our website, pages 9 through 15. Really goes into detail. And just be mindful, because if you don't meet one area of the criteria, it would be grounds for denial. So you want to be prepared before you start the process. And definitely before, you get into it, feel free to ask questions. Do not hesitate. We always like people to ask questions on the front end, then receive a denial letter on the back end. So I thank you, and I hope to be hearing from many of you really soon.
Thank you so much, Lakeisha. One question that we got in the chat that's actually for you is the recertification fee the same as the first certification fee, and is it based on revenue?
It is. So we have the same revenue scale, same fee scale, whether new or recertification.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you, Lakeisha. We know as part of WBENC that certification can really seem daunting, especially in the beginning. I always say it's kind of like doing your taxes, right? If you go in not prepared, it is going to seem daunting. It's going to take more time. You're going to get frustrated by the process. We are truly here to help you, though. You now have connections, both with us, and you're about to meet some great WBEs that would all be willing to help as well. So you're not in this alone. We want to make sure you get certified, and we're not up against you. We are truly here to get you certified. So thank you for sharing that information, and hopefully we do hear from a lot of you. Yeah. But now, after you heard from Lakeisha on what we think the value is of the WBENC network, we really wanted to bring it live to you here today with 3 of our certified women-owned businesses in your industry. And so I welcome Katie, Lorette, and Meryl. And so first, Katie Levin has a background in business administration, procurement, contracts, and facility security operation management, and has owned Authorized Grain Service since 1996. Lorette Rodinett is the president and CEO of Edlong, which is the only WBENC certified flavor house. And last is Meryl Kennedy. Meryl is the CEO of Kennedy Rice Mill and the founder of Four Sisters Rice Brand. All 3 of these ladies are amazing ambassadors for the WBENC network. I appreciate you being here today. And let's talk about your insight and your personal stories of being certified women-owned business. So Avery, we can go ahead and take those slides down so that we can see, hopefully, Katie, Lorette, and Meryl. And let's start. I want each of you to kind of give your professional introduction and hear from you on, 4 things, kind of who you are, the business that you own, how long you've been WBENC certified, and what do you think the biggest value is of the network or being involved. If it's not WBENC, right, maybe somebody would be NMSDC or another organization. What is the biggest value of being part of a network such as that? So Katie, let's go ahead and start with you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I've been the owner of Authorized Grain Service, like Jillian said, since 1996. We are in the grain handling business, so we basically supply equipment to the big industrial grain elevators. Anybody that's taking a sample in from a truck, a ship, a barge, train, and then they're exporting by the same means or other means, we have our hands in that piece of equipment. I've been a member since 2010, so I'm 10 years with WBENC. And when I first started, I was extremely involved, but time is not my friend. I get pulled in so many different directions. And even though we brought our son into the business 2 years ago, we're just expanding so fast, but it's still just us. So it's my husband, myself, and my son. My value in the certification is business to business, specifically women business to business, people that I might get extra supplies, whether it's cleaning supplies or asphalt companies. You don't think about that. We think so much about who we sell to that we don't realize who we need to just do our basic business, take care of my building, asphalt my property, for parking. So that business to business has been the biggest benefit. And when I first started, it was learning what all the other women were going through, some of their struggles. Some of the things like I had experienced were being a sole proprietor and an LLC. So we had to work through some of those issues, and it was really helpful to have those other ladies in my group help me work through that.
That's great insight. Thank you, Katie. And I love we find so many of our WBEs, the biggest benefit is the other WBEs, not only just that group and peer networking, but also doing business with one another. So thank you for highlighting that. So my next question will go to Lorette, and it's the same exact one. Tell me a little bit about who you are, the business you own, how long you've been WBENC certified, and the biggest value you find in being part of the network.
Thank you. Well, you can see that I missed the memo on the barn behind me. I tell you. So yes, I'm Lorette, and CEO and owner of Edlong. We've been WBENC certified since 2009. And I've been with Edlong about 27 years. It's a family business, so I've been with it my whole life. And I really like this topic, you guys, of farmers. I think it's awesome. I was very inspired with the You Grow Girl. I thought that was really adorable, and I already linked in with it or Facebooked with it. But so yeah, I mean, a lot of the materials that we use to make flavors, which is what we do, is dairy flavors, dairy and non-dairy flavors, come from farms. And my dad was a flavorist way back when, and he was very discerning on the milk and milk byproducts that we use and where the cows were fed. Was it Australia? Were they grass fed? So I think this is a really cool topic, and I'm really hoping that you farmers out there are gonna hear all this and not get overwhelmed by the certification process. It sounds scary. It's not that bad. And happy to help any of you personally go through that, and feel free to reach out. So I'd say the benefit of WBENC, there's so many. I see Natalie chatting on the chat, and I see James, some of my good friends from Cargill and Starbucks, and dear friendships are made, relationships are made, partnerships are made. Doors are opened, but as it was said earlier, the door is open, but you've got to walk through the door, which is understandable. You have to prove yourself, be patient. And the connection with the other WBEs is huge. They teach you that kind of stuff. They help you navigate, because at first it's kind of daunting. I remember my first event, there was like 3,000 people when we were live back in the good old days. And I'm kind of shy. And like you walk in and there's like from Boeing to Johnson Controls to, for us, it's, just food was who I was kind of looking for. And I'm like, where are these people? So it helps to make a friend, really, to just make a friend and help you navigate through it. We were going to go to Nashville, was the last one that got canceled, right? So that was the meeting that we used to do live. That's really a good meeting. And last minute it was canceled. And we had a dinner planned with some of the other WBENC and corporates, just a small intimate gathering. We ended up turning it into a virtual event that is so cool. So we have a charity, Thistle Farms, for that was the charity, and that's women that have been drug trafficked and they're recovering. In Tennessee, they have a cafe and they do products like soaps. And so we continue this virtually, continue to support Thistle Farms, and it is just evolved to breakout sessions, networking virtually. There might be a little wine involved and a DJ. So, and again, things like that happen. Like the DJ, I was so impressed with. So then we hired the DJ at Edlong. So there's a lot of cross-pollination that happens through this certification and through this it's like a sanctuary, and where you can really just sometimes go, I don't know what to do, and depend on your other women friends and supporters.
That was incredible. There's so many pieces. Like I had like, I'm going to comment on that. And then there's like, no, I'm going to comment on this. Thank you so much. Yeah, now our conference, that small little conference that you mentioned, is now like 5,000 big. So We're constantly growing, both in corporate members, we're up to 345, and we have almost 17,000 certified women-owned businesses across all industries. So we just keep getting bigger and bigger. And so it is nice to connect with people before you go to one of those events. I'm not sure if we'll have that issue again, right? I don't think anybody has that crystal ball, but when we do go back to in-person meetings, going to those events is so valuable, because that is where you make these connections that really, I mean, set the tone for your business and can set you up for success. So thank you for mentioning that. And Meryl, I would love to introduce you and hear from you. And then I have questions for all of you more than this. So stay on the line. Don't go anywhere. Meryl Kennedy.
Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. And thank you to all my friends and people that I know that have joined. I've been watching people's posts. It's unbelievable. My name is Meryl. I'm the owner and the CEO of my family's company, Kennedy Rice Mill, in a little town called Rouge, Louisiana. We have only around 500 people. So it's very small in the northeast corner of the state of Louisiana. I'm also the founder of Four Sisters Rice, which is a retail brand that we just started about a year ago. So really kind of a new adventure into this retail space. I acquired 51% of the business in 2016 and became certified in 17. So I've been certified 3 years now, going on 4 almost. I think it'll be in January or February. So it was not necessarily an easy process to be certified, but it's absolutely been one of the most rewarding processes of my life. And I mean that from a business perspective, but mainly from a personal perspective. And that truly is the case. I think that probably the biggest, from a value stance, I mean, the other two ladies said it perfectly, but I feel like I have a group of like-minded people now that I can lean on. And I have really, really valuable friendships from this industry in just a very short period of time. So I encourage everybody to get certified and be active with your certification, not passive with it. I was a little bit passive the first year. And once I attended a meeting and jumped in, I really, the benefits really paid off. So.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, some people have been involved for so long that they, like Katie said, you kind of lose time. And so it's always finding ways to get re-engaged and finding what brings you the most value professionally and personally. So Meryl, you, even though it's been, 3+ years, you have jumped feet in, and that's so important because you get in what you put in. So we appreciate you. So now just kind of opening up some other questions that I had written down, and please keep putting in your Q&A as well. I'm going to make sure to hit those. But farming in general tends to be a male-dominated field, right? Amongst so many other industries. So Katie, how do you find your voice as a female owner, in a male-dominated industry?
Well, luckily, my husband and I have been partners, and he's been in this business longer than me, but he always tells everybody I'm the boss and nothing goes through without me touching it. So I think a lot of it is just gaining their trust. A lot of these good old boys, and they are good old boys, you just got to listen, speak their language. Like my husband, they're rough around the edges, but once you get past that facade, they're just like anybody else. And I find they come to me more because I listen to them more and I find out what they truly need. And then I take care of them. And my follow-up is superb. And I think that's what more women are finding in these leadership roles. You just got to listen and you got to follow up. And, say what you mean and do what you say. So that's my biggest thing is with men, you've got to earn their respect by knowing your product, by following up and making sure they're a happy customer.
Thank you. Meryl, do you have a success story that comes from being WBENC certified specifically, like something that happened only because you were at an event or because of a connection made through WBENC?
Jillian, yes, I mean, I have many success stories of being certified. I don't think that we would have gotten our brand four sisters into Walmart, Kroger, or HEB without the certification, honestly. They gave our brand life. But, you know, in all honesty, when I think back, there was a few that stand out along the way because I attended diversity events for those particular companies for 3 or 4 years before I even got a yes, right? So it was a combination of going to your events and going to like a Kroger diversity event, right? Over a period of 3 or 4 years before I even got kind of the first yes, really the first meeting or the first yes. So, you know, I think we've been saying it this whole time we've been on the phone, but I do want to encourage people, you know, it takes a while. You know, you really have to study these big businesses. You have to understand what they need, kind of where you fit in, you know, how to do business with them. Because, you know, if you continue to show up, then they're going to, you know, continue to notice you. Perseverance in life is really probably one of the most important things. But I have to say that I think that the real magic of certification comes after, you know, after you're a vendor, because in almost every case, the diversity team has saved me from major mistakes along the way. So I'm grateful for that too. But yes, I have some great stories.
So you just said something, and I was planning to move on to another question, but you just, and I want to just hone in on how has that supplier diversity person, right, that liaison, helped you through the bigger business conversation?
Well, actually, I guess, I mean, LaShawn is on this, but LaShawn from the Kroger diversity team, when we first got accepted into Kroger, we had major issues with setting our items up. You know, I have never been in retail before, really. We had been, you know, large bulk business rice suppliers. So think, you know, barges, those kind of things. Being at retail and a retail brand is totally different. And so there's not a lot of, you know, you can't really be green, right, to do business with Kroger. You kind of have to be on your A game. You can't look like you don't know what you're doing. And so Kroger really helped us put together kind of, or LaShawn in particular helped me put together kind of a few people that helped us through that process and got us our items uploaded and everything properly. So even there was one point where I was like, how am I going to get the yes and not actually get in, you know? So I appreciate that. And I have a few other examples of that too, but very grateful.
LaShawn is great. I find that the supplier diversity teams or professionals, a lot of times they get overlooked, right? Even at our events, where that's the purpose of our events, but a lot of times people are trying to get straight to the buyer. And I often are telling people, you know, you're talking to the right person right now. This is somebody that can literally help you navigate this conversation and be an advocate, and get you in front of the right person, right? In terms of the buyer. But a lot of times that supplier diversity advocate is the right person to have the initial conversations with, and overall, just to help maintain that overall business relationship. So thank you for highlighting that. Lorette, I have so many good questions for you. I don't know where to start because you have such a great reputation within the WBENC network and all the corporate members. So when, you know, what unique characteristics do you bring to the table of being a female leader, Lorette? And how do you use that to your advantage when you're going to a sourcing event of a corporate member?
That's a hard question. I want the other two questions.
You get this one.
So wait, so what unique characteristics do I bring to the table?
Like being a female leader, right? Like how does that set you apart from, and not saying against male, I'm just saying from other companies out there. How do you use that to your advantage when going to sourcing events?
It is a really good question, especially as you mentioned at the beginning, being the only woman, you know, WBENC certified flavor company. Talk about a Old Boys Network, the flavor industry, which many of you probably don't know much about. It used to be a lot of family businesses and lots of male owners. And really my brother was supposed to be heir apparent, which just kind of would make sense. My dad had picked my brother. I'm the youngest of 7. That's probably a unique characteristic right there. So the youngest of 7, my brother was heir apparent, and he knew early on that this was not his dream. And I was probably maybe in 7th or 8th grade when that was going on. And oddly, I knew when I was little, I was going to run this place. It was just my dream and my passion, and my dad and I were really close. And so when my brother decided to be a teacher, I'm like, I got this. And I think that I spent a lot of time on a fishing boat with my dad and his best friend, who also owned a really big company, matter of fact, and more in the agricultural world, Kemin in Iowa. And I would listen to those two talk about business on a fishing boat as a young girl. And I think I learned a lot about how to operate in this male-dominated industry that I'm in by those two men. And they had very opposing views on lots of stuff, which is a good thing too. Didn't get intimidated. My dad was 6'5", 6'6", ex-bear. I'm 5'10". I got to tell you, that's a characteristic I am forever grateful for. Now, when I was in 7th grade and 8th grade and all the boys were significantly shorter than me, that was not so fun. But now, now I feel like I put my big girl shoes on, don't I? I mean, the people in this group that know me, like I'm probably usually 6'2" when I walk in a room. And there's something into the beginning of, on that TED Talk of your Wonder Woman stance, I was thinking of my Wonder Woman shoes. Like there is something to, you gotta almost get into character. And I think the voices in our head are the worst for all of us. I saw an article yesterday on that imposter syndrome. I think we all have it. I mean, there's so many times we have to just change that voice. And I don't know where the heck it comes from and why it hits women more than men. But we gotta all support each other and get that voice out of your head. You know, you are just as good, you are worthy. So I don't think I answered your question at all, but.
No, but it was great. I have so many thoughts now, right? Like my dad actually owns a corrugated box company outside of BWI. And so my childhood memories is going to the plant and walking that plant floor with my dad and hearing those business conversations. And I truly think that being a little girl on a plant floor of manufacturing, it gives you a confidence that has stayed with me my whole life.
Feels totally. I remember climbing on screwdrivers.
I related so much to what you were saying because I knew from a very young age the industry I wanted to be in and who I was going to be, and to a fault, right? That can sometimes. You gotta sometimes reset yourself. But no, I don't know what my question was either because you did a great job just answering the way you wanted to. But I think it spoke so much to so many of us of just what inspires you at a young age.
I do. I feel like it's just really important right now, like this whole she session and the pandemic, and women are carrying the weight of the world. I am overwhelmed. And I feel like I have an assistant, I have a nanny, I have a house cleaner. I've got a ton of help in my life. And I have a special need, one of my sons is dyslexic, and that's been killing me. Because, this is what we do all day, pretty much from 9 to 5, we're doing this in some form or fashion. And then you walk out of your home office and you got to deal with the woman kind of stuff. And I just think like WBENC right now is even more important than it ever was for that support.
I'm so grateful for the support. I have a kindergartner and a 2nd grader who are virtual learning. I'm a teacher and mom and my
I'm a horrible teacher, so God bless you.
So, without my network of support, I don't know that I am doing it. I think many of the people on the phone that know me would say I'm trying my best, but this is the time of trying to find your tribe and have them support you and know that you can't do everything. So that's an important message.
And we think we have to be so perfect. And again, I don't know where that comes from, but it's impossible to do it all right now.
And who wants to be perfect? That's so boring.
No, that's no fun. That's
no fun at all. So going to Katie, thank you, Lorette. I want to have an offline conversation with you. You're fun. Going to Katie, I know that you're really involved with other organizations, not WBENC, but really industry driven, because you and I have connected on that. So Katie, can you tell me a little bit about what other industries you are a part of and how that helps you in your business?
Well, I'm a member of GEEPS, which stands for Grain Elevator and Processing Society. It's one of the largest trade shows that I have exhibited and have been a longtime member. And I'm also a member with NFIB. And basically with GEEPS, It's getting out there in front of the end user as much as possible. The Grain Society, again, is male dominant, but there's been great companies like Cargill. Oh gosh, who else? The Andersons, ADM, a bunch of gals that I've connected with that are elevator managers, which is a really hard job to break into. I mean, you're out in the weather, you're out there managing the whole grain mixing. One of the things that I would like to see, and you and I have been working on that, is with this You Go Grow Girl, we'd like to get more people in the cross section of Jeeps and WBENCs and to connect those. And I think that will help in both sectors tremendously. I've not met Natalie with Cargill. I see that she's on this call, but I've gotten my foot in the door the hard way of just being the expert, the subject matter expert for what we do. And, you know, just recently got into their animal nutrition division. They have so many divisions, it's hard to know how to get connected. I don't know really if there is one person to connect and can get you into all the divisions.
Higher diversity.
Yes. So I'm going to get a hold of your gal and make sure that we can get into this. But I really, before even knowing those kind of terms, when I put my foot in the door, they could have bought directly from the manufacturer. But by being the subject matter expert and knowing the equipment as we do and knowing how to utilize it where it needs to be, but the deal was sealed. They could have bought from the manufacturer, but they bought from me because I have that WBENC certification. I mean, they could have bought it for the exact same price, but it helps. They knew they were helping a woman-owned business, and they were proud of that. So that was one of my best seal of approvals.
And let me help you. I'm happy to help you. I already emailed you. We're connecting, so this is going to be great. So I'm very happy to meet you.
Thank you, Natalie.
I love our WBENC national members, corporate and government. That's what I'm saying. Supplier diversity is often overlooked. This is the place. You said, I wish there was one person to kind of help me through. It is supplier diversity. That was my whisper. If you didn't, I know you heard it, Katie, but maybe not everybody else. So yeah, I think that's a great point though, that I want to just stay on, and then I'm going to, Lorette and Meryl, start thinking about the organizations you're a part of, because I'm coming to you guys next. But Katie, you talked about being in with one of their departments or divisions, right? Let's say you get a small contract, right? You're not always going to get the granddaddy of contracts right off the bat. You've got to prove yourself. You've got to earn that trust with each corporate that you do business with. How do you take that one small contract and turn it into a larger opportunity through other divisions? What does that look like?
Well, for example, I'm working with their whole planning and engineering department, and all of a sudden I'm working with this fella on the animal nutrition side, and he's like, well, who are you working with on the whole grain side? And then the whole grain side guy goes, hey, who's working with you on the crush plant side? And I mean, it's just, and they don't even really know within themselves. And this is all engineers. I'm not an engineer, but I have to connect the dots for them, you know? And so those are the things that even today, I mean, as of today, I'm still making those relationships within the same company, but they're run in separate divisions. They don't always talk to each other. So Natalie's going to be a great resource.
Yeah, she absolutely is. You know, that is something people often don't understand, is like the large corporations coming from corporate America. Every corporation is completely different structured. It doesn't always carry over. It's not apples to apples. And even within one division might operate completely different than another division. And so navigating that is really tricky, especially because some people aren't as, you know, they're not as forthcoming with how to do business, or maybe they don't know even internally. Sorry if you hear my dogs are trying to break into the room, guys. Sorry about that. at least the kids are at bay. The
Yeah,
kids
exactly.
are gone, the
Dogs are nothing.
always one of them. But, you know, I think it's a thing that you have to learn. You have to be ready to relearn it with each company. Just because you've mastered it one doesn't mean it's going to carry over. But just knowing that one small opportunity, or even getting a contract with the prime of that company, right? You're not always going to get it with the end user per se. It's great that you got into Cargill, but it might be, you might need to start with one of their primes, their prime suppliers is what I mean by that, and get into one of their contracts, prove yourself there, earn that trust there, right? To tell your story in order to elevate that. So these are all some of the ways that, I mean, you all own businesses. I know that you know this, but in terms of navigating that supplier diversity story, I wanted to make sure to touch on all that. So Lorette, what organizations are you a part of besides WBENC?
Part of Female Strong, which is the YAY organization, Young Entrepreneurs Association. I'm on the board of that. Also, Chicagoland Food and Beverage Network. I've found myself in a lot of boards. And FEMA, which is not the FEMA that you guys might be thinking of. It's the Flavor and Extract Manufacturers Association, which is probably the board that takes up the most of my time, but in a good way. And it's like a 125-year-old association, and I'm the 6th woman ever on it. And it was, when I went the first time, like seriously 25 years ago, because my oldest was born then, and I brought him, and I was the only one with a baby at all there, and because it was all men, like, and everybody thought that my husband at the time was like the Edlong representative. So that's been like a mission in life to be on that board. It's very, it needs to be modernized. I feel a mission. But I was thinking, when as you were talking about kind of using a certification, one memory I have of a summit and salute, I believe, one of the corporates, it was Pepsi, they invited a couple of us, just a handful WBEs, to have this half-an-hour meeting with their chief CPO, Chief Procurement Officer. And I was so nervous. And you have half an hour to like get your story, you know, succinct and meaningful. And from that meeting came open doors to Mexico for us, which was huge. So, so I think sometimes the navigating with this, I mean, even asking your supplier diversity manager to help you organize that, it was absolutely huge. And I also love the corporates and how they refer us sometimes to the other corporates. I mean, we know all the corporates are good friends, and they're, you know, their own, they have to connect on this stuff on their own. So that's been huge, is getting a referral from that. And they even make it public. Like, we were in, I think it was LinkedIn and Facebook that Nestle did, you know, this is one of our suppliers. I can never say that because flavors are top secret. But when supplier diversity puts the spotlight on Edlong, I'm like, thank you. That is huge, because I can't do that. So kind of answered a different way.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, you know, one of the best things you can do is find a group of people that would drop your name in a room full of opportunities, right? And so supplier diversity is just that. And it's the weird place where competitors of brands.
Yeah, I agree. I love that. I love that.
Everybody plays in the sandbox. We all play very well because we really want the mission to move forward. And in order to do that, we all work together. So I find that all the time. You know, they'll ask for my recommendation. And we don't give recommendations at WBENC. We just do the database search, because we're not going to pick one of our children over the other, although I always have my favorites. What we do, though, is I encourage them to ask their peers, because that is where that, and also I'm not procuring from you, right? So I can't give that type of insight. I can know you from events and from conversations like this, but I haven't done business with you. And so I don't give them.
And that is, you're right. That's so powerful. Once you've done business with somebody and they know you, they're going to have specific examples of, no, this is a really good company to work with, and this is why. So I would recommend to all of you to definitely, once you get certified, to do that.
Yeah, thank you. Meryl, are you a part of any other organizations out there, and how do you use that to your advantage?
Yeah, I would say probably the top 2 other organizations is the USA Rice Federation, and then YPO, which is Young Professionals Organization. But I'll say that in the rice organization is probably a little bit like flavors. I was the first woman ever to be appointed as vice president this year.
Congratulations. That's huge.
Thank you.
It really is. It's a hard nut to crack.
Well, I'll tell you, the gentleman that recommended me, he cried.
Oh.
So I have to say probably that was one of the most rewarding moments of my life. And, you know, there's a lot of people here actually that ended up wanting us to get certified, which is the reason why I'm certified, that we were bulk suppliers with. So there was a few other women on the board with us, but mainly from large corporate companies. I'm the only private mill female sitting on the board. So I think that, you know, from that perspective, you know, being a change agent, I guess, has been really powerful. And then, you know, seeing kind of that change happen. And I think that that's why I love the diversity team so much in these big companies, is because I see them as change agents. Just like we're talking about how they cross over and they'll like recommend you. I mean, I've been recommended from big companies to other companies. I'm like, wow, this is very inclusive, right? That's what they're doing inside their companies too. So they're encouraging, I mean, I've watched it in action where they really encourage the category manager to do something. And they can't influence decisions. They're not decision necessarily makers.
Right.
It's more about changing corporate culture, changing attitudes, you know, changing what it looks like to be a farmer, right? What does it look like to be in agriculture? And, you know, it's not necessarily a man sitting on a tractor with a big belly and a, you know, piece of hay coming out of his mouth. I mean, you know, in every storybook when you're a child looks like that. And so I think that it's redefining that. And I think that those people are really powerful, more powerful probably than they give themselves credit for. And then the other is YPO. YPO has been a great advocate for me, just because it's been allowed me to have deep personal connections, mainly with men, whereas, you know, in a normal business setting, some of the, you know, sometimes you have barriers that exist that aren't real. So that's been very powerful too. But
we love our he's for she's. We need everybody thinks we're all women focused. At our events, it's about 50% men. And
oh, absolutely. Look, Jillian, men have been, and the minority group too has been just as big of an advocate for me as any group, or, you know, even WBENC. So I love the fact that we're all connected. I think that it's phenomenal, frankly.
And, yeah, so, you know, we have, I said, those 5 buckets of minority, LGBTQ, veteran, disability, and women. There's a leader in all of them. Next week, we're bringing together for the first time, it's called Unity Week, where we're bringing together all 10 affiliates that work across supplier diversity for the first ever unified conference. If you don't do it in 2020, then you miss the mark, right? So we are really excited to do that. But we do find that a lot of times it's not just WBE to WBE business. It's, you know, MBE to WBE, LGBTBE to WBE. Once you're part of the certified community, no matter if it's WBENC or any other affiliate, there's so much love and support that is given as you meet people.
And it motivates you too to start your own program. So like at Edlong, we have our own diversity spend, and it's not just women. I mean, it's any diversity. We're totally believers in diversity. So it kind of, you know, if you're going to walk the walk, you got to do it too. And then it helps me even realize how hard that is to keep it in front of mind of my people when they're procuring. To have a diversity.
We do the same thing, and it is very challenging. And we've been encouraged by our corporate customers to do that and been held accountable. And I appreciate that, right? Because even myself, you know, it's out of sight a little bit sometimes. You don't think about it. And in ag, it's not so easy. I mean, you can find companies, but you have to put some effort into it. So
cool.
Yeah.
That is amazing. Thank you both for doing that. And Katie too, like being a part of all these other organizations and leading, congratulations on your board chair seats. And I just think that the more we can have this conversation, please know that I'm willing to join you at any of those other groups that you're a part of to help, you know, talk about supplier diversity in general, and help spread the word, because this is really a grassroots effort to get in front of farmers, growers, agriculture. The gap is there for a reason, right? And so everybody that joined us today, it was hard to find you, but I did. And so I'm excited you're here. But if you know other people that this might benefit, please refer them. You can give them my information personally. We want to have more of these conversations, whether they be a minority, woman, or whatever category they belong to, or an intersection of many of them. We want to find them and bring them to the forefront. So I am so grateful, Katie, Meryl, and Lorette, for your time, sharing your experience. This was the best conversation, just so candid, and I love all your honesty. It's not always easy being a CEO of a company, and you all do it extremely well. So thank you for being great representatives, and please, send emails to me and let's keep connecting. I would love to keep finding ways to highlight you all. One of the ways we highlight our women-owned businesses is through our Women Who Own It. We have a new podcast by Allison Maslin. So connect, listen there. We share great stories of other women who own it, because I know when I listen to these kind of stories, it really inspires me. And so listen to that. And then we also have, with the General Mills You Grow Girl, I know I'm going to be looking for that blog. So I find just getting these quick little snippets of energy and excitement and passion really help to motivate me, and I hope it does for you as well. If you selected you were not certified at the registration process, we will follow up with you on next steps. We'll also send out a survey afterwards, which you can select that you weren't certified again, and you have our information, but also we're able to help you connect to the right people if it's not WBENC, to become certified, or even just to begin those conversations to make sure you feel supported in beginning those first steps. So I think I have some other Q&A. I love that you guys want us to gather this group again. Maybe we'll just go on a roadshow. We'll just keep going with these conversations. I'm looking through to see what other kind of seeing what is in the chat. I see some people had to step out for their mom duties. I totally get that. But you know what, before I move on I'm gonna scroll through the chat, and while I do that, I'm gonna invite Camille from General Mills back. So Avery, if we could pull up the presentation one more time and go to the very last slide. Camille, are you there?
I am. Hello, everyone.
Okay, floor is all yours, my friend.
Hi, everybody. That was such a great panel, you guys. That was great information. It was so fun hearing you all talk, and I was like nodding and laughing along with you guys the whole time. That was wonderful. I wanted to take this opportunity with this group of amazing women to make a special announcement from General Mills. So, we truly believe that certification is beneficial for all parties, for all diversity statuses, for all industries. And we kind of want to put our money where our mouth is on that. So we have created a General Mills Certification Scholarship Fund. So the goal of this is that we are going to have an application process where if you are not certified and you'd like to try out that first year of certification, and we really think that you're going to like it enough to keep that going, we'll sponsor your first year certification. There is going to be an application process. So make sure that we believe that you're going to meet the qualifications, check it out. But we've created this scholarship fund to help more women and diverse farmers get certified, and other industries as well. So there's going to be more information coming out soon. But we're really excited to remove this barrier to entry for certification and to continue supporting diversity.
That's incredible. Thank you so much. And I also saw in the chat you guys are hosting a holiday party for supplier diversity. I have not heard of that. That's a very cool 2020 pivot. Do you normally do that?
Yep. So we've been doing our holiday party for years now, but we usually have it in person. So it's typically limited to those in our region. We're based in Minneapolis, so it's usually those from around the area. But we are going to do it virtually this time, and we're going to still have the opportunity for you guys to connect with our sourcing team who attend. So it's a great informal opportunity for you to meet directly with the decision makers. If you'd like to learn more information and be on that invite list, just send me a note to supplier.diversity@genmills.com.
That is incredible. I'm gonna get on that invite list. I would like to go. But yeah, everybody else, we'll make sure to follow up, like I said, with a survey. And then I think we'll probably try to work to help get Camille's announcement out, because that's an awesome thing from General Mills. Before I kind of close up, we're actually gonna give you some time back as the conversations just kind of flowed. Is there any other questions? You can go ahead and put them in the chat. I saw a lot of questions of like how to do business with, blank company, whether it be General Mills or one of the other companies you saw on here. I think that we put the portal that you can register as a supplier. That's step one. So Camille, after they register in the portal, what can they expect?
Yeah, so how General Mills sourcing process works is that we have this awesome supplier diversity dashboard that's right on our intranet, and our buyers use it all the time. We have requirements in our sourcing process that our buyers need to include at least one diverse supplier for every bidding event. So this is where they go to find those diverse suppliers. So you're really in the right place. I'm always doing introductions to buyers. So if you register, send me another email and I can do an introduction to like the specific buyer that would be on that case. And I'll just kind of echo what the three ladies said throughout their panel is, be patient. There are sourcing cycles and opportunities aren't every month, every week. Sometimes they'll take a while. So, we'll try to keep you as informed as to the timing as best as we can, but it's just important to get out there and get that introduction started.
That's great. Yeah, thank you for that. And I have one more question. When somebody does put themselves in the portal, right, is it a capacity statement or description? How do they set themselves up against the pack? Because sometimes they might be the only diverse supplier and that makes a good mark on them, but what if they're not and still they want to win on merit? So how do they set themselves apart in your portal or any other portal, right? Just speaking more generically, to kind of go to that next step.
Sure. So I can't speak for how other people do their portals, but at General Mills, it's less of a portal and more of a preliminary RFI. So we're not just taking your name and contact information and marking you as diverse. We are getting what was your revenue last year? Who have you worked with in the past? What are your capabilities? We're really trying to get to like pre-qualify you to know that you're ready to work with General Mills. We could put you in a bid tomorrow and you could win. Or we look at you and say, oh, maybe let's start them out with our primes first so we can make that introduction. So just be as detailed as possible when filling out the preliminary RFI, because that is the information that we use to make those decisions.
That's great. Yeah, the more meat they can put in that, right? Of the recommendations, who they've done business with, the scale and scope to go into a large contract. That's where I said, working to kind of build that resume of who else you've done business with, whether it be their primes or even a smaller part of the contract, can really help you to open up that larger door. Awesome. And let me check chat one more time. Sorry, I have a couple screens going on. Thank you for the kudos. We're so glad you got something out of today. We look to continue these. So like I said, if you have other friends or colleagues or peers that you think would benefit from this, please let them know about these, and we will try to do another one in the near future, but also we might be able to try to get this one live. Any other questions? I'm reading through really quickly. I don't think so. If you do, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Like I said, we're not just here on the Zoom. We are at our desk every day looking to help you all become certified. And then once you're part of the network, that's where the real work begins of being your champion and helping you connect for real opportunities. So we will send a survey out afterwards. Please be honest on it. I know you will. Let us know what we can do to continue this outreach and to help you, make the most of your time with us, whether it be with us or any of the other affiliates. We hope to welcome you soon. I have to start off with a big thank you to my WBENC team. Avery and Nettie, you guys are incredible. Thank you for dealing with all the AV issues in the beginning, and you fixed it very quickly. So we apologize for the mic issues, but we were able to fix that, and it's been great ever since. And then definitely to Camille, Beth, and Molly at General Mills and the rest of the General Mills team. Paula, I know you're there too. Thank you so much for bringing this important conversation to us all today and being our champions. We truly appreciate you, everything you do. And to all the panelists with Katie, Meryl, and Lorette, we know how busy you are running your businesses, and the fact that you took time out today to be with us, we really appreciate it. We know there's a lot more to come in terms of how we partner together. So I can't believe we're going to say this because it's only a few short weeks away, but I hope everybody has a very safe and healthy, happy holidays. And we look to welcome you to WBENC in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.